Hi, thank you for joining. My name is Crystal Olivaria, and I'm the Career Conversationalist. Today we're going to be discussing career dating advice for your child. Discover why career exploration and dating go hand in hand. Avoid heartbreak. You can grow together or you can grow apart. Learn wise advice regarding compatibility for a lifelong adventure. Interestingly, the wise advice I have received regarding dating seems to apply better to selecting a career than any other type of career advice I have received. I guess this is understandable since both are about making a lot of little decisions that lead to a big decision. Both cost a lot of money. Spending several grand on college education is the equivalent to a wedding and perhaps a down payment on a house if your child attends a private college. No one wants to spend a lot of money on a bad decision, get divorced, and have to start again. But it happens, perhaps too often. That is why I want to share with you life lessons I have learned. Do you want to know how to help your child date wisely and select a career he or she will love for the rest of his or her life? Discover why career exploration and dating go hand in hand. Most people do not dream or plan on having multiple careers during their lifetime. Similarly, most people do not dream or plan on getting married multiple times to different people. Most wedding vows are till death do us part and not till divorce paperwork is final. I have observed many unhappy people in marriages and in their jobs. I've spent a lot of time wondering why so many people are unhappy. How did they get there? What choices did they make that got them started on this path? And what did the happy ones do differently? Growing up, I received a lot of wise dating advice. I remember talking to my neighbor Pat, who was my babysitter, about her marriage. Pat and her husband Bill were happily married for 40+ years until Bill passed away. Fortunately, I knew Bill for some time before he passed. I felt like part of the family. I was treated like the daughter Pat never had. Pat had all boys and she wanted a girl. Pat had a soft spot for treating young ladies like her daughter. As you can imagine, Pat was more than happy to share her wisdom about dating when I started asking questions. I remember being flabbergasted when Pat said, "Crystal, getting engaged isn't like it is in the movies or on TV. That stuff is all made up. In real life, you shouldn't be surprised when someone asks you to marry him." "What do you mean?" I asked. Pat explained that getting married is a lifelong decision. It deserves a lot of thought and consideration. To select a mate who will be a good fit for you, you need to spend a lot of time talking and getting to know each other. That is the only way you will be able to decide if he is right for you. There are lots of great guys out there. It's about finding the one that is right for you. It is about compatibility. Then Pat told me the following story. Bill and I started dating, and shortly after, he asked me to marry him. I said, "Bill, I don't even know you." And he said, "Well, what do you want to know?" We went on several fishing trips because it was quiet up there, and it gave us a chance to talk and really get to know each other. We went on fishing trips because Bill liked to fish. We talked about everything from our likes and dislikes, how we were raised, and what type of future we wanted. Shortly thereafter, I said yes, and we have been married ever since. I thought a lot about Pat's advice growing up. I had spent a great deal of time watching the two of them enjoy the company of each other in their older age. As I became a teenager, I continued to remember Pat's advice. I talked to a lot of guys and realized what Pat said was true. There is no shortage of great guys out there. Rather, it is about finding the one who has hopes and dreams as big as mine about the future. I have met and dated a lot of interesting people because I'm willing to talk, ask questions, and listen. In high school, I had a friend who I enjoyed spending a lot of time with. We never dated formally, but I got to know him and his family pretty well. His parents were happily married for 25 plus years, and they were a joy to be around. My friend was also super supportive of me. He was always there for me. He was a gentleman. He was handsome, intellectual, and funny. We had a lot of great conversations. I knew a lot about his past and how he was raised. Our conversations about the present were dominated by the subject of how my friend was a nice guy who couldn't get a good girl because all the good girls wanted to be with the bad boys. I pointed out that a lot of the girls he wanted to date probably grew up with a lot of drama in their household. As a result, he may have seemed boring to them because he was not a drama king. I know my story may seem like I'm getting off topic about dating and selecting a career and how they're similar, but I'm getting to the point. I realized my friend and I spent a lot of time talking about the past and the present, but not the future. Remembering my neighbor's dating advice, I started asking questions about what kind of future he wanted. My friend wanted the typical middle-class lifestyle with a wife, children, and a nice home. However, he did not have a lot of career aspirations, nor did he seem very interested in learning how to invest for the future. He seemed content with his plan to go to college, get a job, and live a nice middle-class lifestyle. Personally, I would rather live the affluent lifestyle than the middle-class lifestyle. I am ambitious, and I'm willing to do what it takes to make my dreams a reality. Therefore, I knew in the long run, my friend and I would not be a good fit for each other romantically. Since then, when getting to know someone, I have made it a point to ask questions like, why did you pick your career? Why did you change career paths? What do you want to do now? What are your long-term goals? And what are you doing to reach your long-term goals? Without even realizing it, I made it a habit to talk about future career goals because I know people either grow together or grow apart. I knew that in order to be able to have a great conversation, I needed to be willing to show up and be ready to talk about my hopes, dreams, and long-term goals. So I started spending more time defining what it is that I want and making plans to achieve my desires. As a result of consistently talking about what I want and who I have to become, I've developed clarity by continuing to edit and modify my story. The reason I think career exploration and dating go hand in hand is because the process is the same. It starts with uncertainty, and through life experiences, clarity about what a person wants and does not want becomes apparent. The more I have dated, the more specific I have become about what I do and do not want in a mate. Likewise, the more I have explored career opportunities, the more I know about what I want and do not want. In other words, the more engaged your child is in living a richer and fuller life, the more life experiences your child will have to guide him or her down the dating and career selection path. Dating and career selection is about discovering what you do and do not like, and then making choices based upon what you've learned from life experiences. Avoid heartbreak. You grow together or you grow apart. Many people tend to associate growing together or growing apart with two people in a relationship, but it can happen to a person and their career. I will use myself as an example. At the young age, I fell in love with retail. As I grew up, the retail industry grew too, predominantly online. In college, I built a website and I sold my handmade jewelry online. I learned a lot and developed a deep appreciation for people who have the ability to market and drive traffic. I grew up with the saying, build it and they will come. But I discovered the more accurate truth is, promote it and they will come. I have learned a lot about marketing since my college days. A lot has changed. As the retail industry grew and changed, I grew and changed. For a long time, we grew and changed together. Every relationship has its ups and downs, and my relationship with retail definitely had some down days. However, my constructive discontent began to grow into consistent disappointment and heartache. I became disheartened by regularly coming across too many irritated customers who hate shopping because it is no longer fun like it used to be. The buyer used to be your best friend and would buy only quality merchandise, and they had fashion taste, so what they bought went well with everything. Now, so many stores have the pile it high and watch it fly off the table mentalities that it's hard to find something that is made well and fits right. When stores have products I like, they are always out of my size. Shopping has become a chore rather than something fun to look forward to. When I would visit a variety of stores as a vendor for multiple brands, I dressed professional in all black. I stood out in a good kind of way, and customers talked to me. Perhaps it was my cheerful attitude and that I represented an outside party with a vested interest in keeping customers happy, but I received a lot of feedback from patrons. I realized the retail industry, particularly the stores, are losing a lot of business by not being in touch with their customers and servicing their wants and needs. I began to wonder if companies really know who their customers are. For example, a lot of parents complain that they cannot find mid-length shorts. The school has dress codes and short shorts are not allowed. Mothers also do not want their daughters wearing short shorts because of the type of attention it attracts. Since the school dress code tends to stay the same each and every year, stocking stores with mid-length shorts seems to be an easy, predictable way to sell a lot of merchandise. However, every year, parents complain. No wonder parents are going online to buy goods. Stores do not know who their customers are, what they want and need. Customers are reluctantly going online to buy. Buying online is not as fun as it is in the stores. Customers like to see and feel merchandise, and they like the instant gratification that comes from being able to take goods home with them. Can you relate? From a retail standpoint, I learned retail is about more than fashion. It is about knowing your customer and shopping on their behalf to fill a store with fun, useful products they want and need. A buyer for a store is a personal shopper. A buyer needs to know who their customers are and serve them well if they want to keep them happy and returning again and again. From all the feedback I received, I realized I want to have an ongoing conversation with the people I serve. With this realization, the retail career path I chose and I began to grow apart. I realized many articles about the retail industry are mostly focused on how to use new technology to drive more sales. There's usually little to no mention about how to use new technology to help a company better understand their customers' wants and needs. Rather, there seems to be a lot of people and companies with the attitude of, if you want to be in style, you need to buy my newly designed products. I do not like this approach. I prefer to talk to people and find out what their wants and needs are, and then use my creativity to provide a fun solution that solves their problems. That is how I came to become the career conversationalist. I originally started by writing articles for a blog about how to get scholarships to pay for college. I received feedback from parents that they understand college is an investment and they are willing to help their child afford college. While affording college is a concern, their bigger concern is making sure the child selects a relevant career that utilizes his or her talents. I take the feedback I receive from people like you to craft weekly messages to address your concerns in a fun and uplifting way. With the continued feedback I am receiving, I'm making plans to expand the amount of support and fun offered to assist your child in selecting a relevant career that is fun, fulfilling, and financially rewarding. In the near future, there will be ongoing events you and your child can attend to socialize with other like-minded people for personal connection and personal feedback. Individual and group coaching will be offered as a way to help your child stay engaged in the career conversation between events. I'm excited about the growth of the Career Conversationalist, and I hope you are excited as well. Learn wise advice regarding compatibility for a lifelong adventure. It can be difficult for your child to evaluate if opportunities are compatible for him or her if your child has little to no life experience. I learned about the concept of compatibility in the work world the hard way. When I graduated college, I was focused on getting a job rather than making my next career move. At the time, all I could think about was making money. During the interview process, I spent little time asking questions to get to know the people I would potentially be working for 8 hours a day in a small office cubicle. I thought of asking questions to get to know people and discover our compatibility level to work together never crossed my mind. With a little questioning, I would have saved myself a lot of grief by foregoing the job position I was offered. At the time, I was job-focused rather than career-focused, so I made decisions I probably wouldn't have made if I had a different mindset. Shortly after accepting the job position, I found myself between a rock and a hard spot. I didn't want to leave the company within 6 months and make it look like I was a flake who couldn't keep a job. So I stayed and endured the situation. At the 6-month mark, I tried to get promoted or transfer laterally to another department, and that is when I discovered I had been unknowingly placed on probation. I was not eligible to be promoted or transferred laterally to another department. I was upset, irritated, and depressed. Earlier, I had strongly advocated for something to be done in a particular way, also known as the right way. The person in charge decided otherwise, and there was a huge problem that resulted many weeks later. I was blamed and written up for what happened. From that situation, I learned I would rather do things correctly and take the heat than to have the results become more serious and unpleasant in the near future. I also learned I do not want to work with people who do just enough to get the job done today and not consider the consequences of cutting corners. I do not want to work with people who do not seriously consider my expert opinion and who blame me when they decide not to step up and claim responsibility for their role that led to a disaster. I learned I want to work with people who provide feedback, good, bad, or otherwise, rather than having them bottling it all in and exploding later. I want to be able to discuss options and explain my reasoning even if we don't agree. I want to be acknowledged for my role in contributing to the success of projects. I learned a lot about my likes and dislikes during this challenging time. I would encourage you to encourage your child to work throughout his or her high school years so that your child can gain some work-life experiences. I would rather your child learn how to handle challenging work situations at a summer job than at his or her first job out of college when he or she has the pressure of paying bills. The work-life experience will help your child ask better questions during the interview process. As a result, your child will better be able to gauge if opportunities are worth saying yes to based upon the new standards your child wants to live by. For me, I did the best I could to navigate the situation I was in. A few months later, I started interviewing for other job positions within the company. Around this time around, I asked a lot of questions to get to know my potential future boss. Everyone seemed nice and pleasant to work with, except for one man. He seemed gruff, and he had a tell-it-like-it-is kind of attitude. He seemed like the kind of man where we could argue and he would listen to my expert opinion and take it into consideration. He seemed knowledgeable and willing to do what was right for the customer, more so than what was right for his ego. While he seemed rough around the edges, I liked that he said what was on his mind. There was no guessing about what he thought, and he didn't bottle things up angrily, because he would clearly tell you what he thought. I was interested in working with this gentleman because during our short conversation, I felt like he was being his true self, and I knew more about him than I did of any other the potential future bosses. When human resources asked for my preferences, as far as who I wanted to work with, my top choice was for the big burly man with the gruff voice. I was assigned to work in this man's office, and I quickly discovered that my gut feeling about him turned out to be right. We argued quite a bit. Things said were not always politically correct. At times, there was a lot of tension in the small office cubicle. The most memorable argument was about holiday advertising. The holiday season is an important season in the retail industry because most companies operate at a loss all year round until the holidays. The reason that Friday after Thanksgiving is called Black Friday is because that is the day most retailers traditionally broke even and made enough money to cover their operating expenses for the year. The profit for the year is generally made from sales between Black Friday and Christmas. Being in charge of advertising for our departments, I did not want to mess up advertising for the holiday season. I wanted to spend an hour a day organizing files and cleaning up so that when the holidays came, I would be prepared. When I accepted the job position, I had inherited a mess. My boss was not happy about my clear boundary of dedicating an hour a day to work on preparing for the holiday advertising season. I told my boss he could command and control 7 hours of my day as he pleased, but I would not budge on needing an hour a day for preparing for the holiday advertising season. My boss was upset and we had an intense argument. I heard things like, "I'm the boss, and I know what needs to be done and prioritized. Right now, there are big fires that need to be put out that require a full 8 hours of work. The ad preparation can wait." And I said, No, it can't. When I was interviewed for this job position, you said you wanted someone who is proactive rather than reactive, and here I am. This starts now, not later. The big gruff boss left the office for lunch with his face flush red and steam coming out of his ears like a cartoon. That day, I took a late lunch, and I dreaded coming back to the office. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to do my job and do my job well. In order to do my job well, I needed to prepare for the busy holiday season. After lunch, when walking back to our office cubicle, I felt the pit in my stomach sink, and I felt sick. I braced myself for the worst, but hoped for the best. When I reached my desk, I saw 3 little pieces of chocolate near my computer mouse. My boss and I did not talk much for the remainder of the day or for the next few days that followed. I worked on advertising the last hour of the day before I left work. I realized that I had found someone I was compatible working with. Compatibility didn't mean that things were great all the time. Compatibility means that we could both freely express ourselves and work through our differences quickly to an agreed upon resolution. We got to know each other, and while we respected each other's boundaries, that didn't stop us from pushing each other outside of our comfort zones. I think part of it was because we needed and wanted each other to handle new and additional responsibilities. As we cleaned up our departments, they grew to become more profitable. In the beginning, we were keeping our heads above water from the workload. We had a challenging time trying to manage our time better so that we had time to find ways to improve operations so that we would not spend all of our time treading water by staying busy with the day-to-day operations. As soon as we cleaned up our operations, we faced new challenges in terms of how to grow smartly to expand the business to become more profitable. Change has a way of naturally pushing people outside of their comfort zones. However, my supervisor and I also pushed each other outside of our comfort zones, because it was fun. There was this little kid attitude of wanting to test the boundaries and see how much we could get away with. From working together, I gained life experiences and learned what type of people I work best with. I work best with people who are comfortable with being uncomfortable. If we were both comfortable, we would have been complacent and told ourselves things like, "That is just the way it is." Statements like these were things I regularly heard from the people in the previous department I worked in. However, growth requires taking on new challenges, and I tend to work well with others who are also growth-minded. I learned compatibility has to do with having an agreed-upon understanding of how to handle challenges as they arise. I do not work well with others who like to pretend that everything is great when it is not. I work well with others who love what they do and are immersed in it. They are passionate and they will tell you how they really feel, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can handle the realness. It is the realness that creates the funny, unexpected comments and jokes that lead to a lifelong adventure that is fun. Again, I would encourage you to encourage your child to work throughout his or her high school years so that your child can gain some work-life experiences. When your child has good work experiences, your child will be able to identify what types of people he or she works best with. Knowing what types of people your child works best with will help your child evaluate opportunities more accurately. Your child will come to job interviews prepared to ask a lot of questions to get to know potential future coworkers. Your child will be able to better judge opportunities for their compatibility and make decisions confidently. Your child will embark on a lifelong journey to meet and get to know new interesting people by being willing to talk, ask questions, and listen. Okay, and here's a few brief images of the holiday advertising. This was for one particular advertisement for the men's holiday gift sale, and on the cover it has a picture of a big present with a couple of items as far as a men's wallet, a remote caddy, and a digital coin counter. Those are all items from the department I worked in. When you opened it up, there was men's gift ideas on both sides. Everything from wallets and key fabs to the cases you take when you travel, places where you put your watches, and the portfolios. And then there was also smaller gifts, for example, like a car cup holder, something for your wine, a flashlight, just fun games and useful items. When you flip the page in the magazine, again, there's some more great men's gift ideas in terms of like a manicure set to help a man keep his nails nice and clean and trimmed, more key fobs, other things that he might enjoy, smart gifts as far as camping. And then there was some also more practical things in terms of wallets and how to store your watches, a cup warmer, a digital football bank, a flashlight where it was you cranked it to charge it rather than having to have batteries, and a tool set. When you continue to flip the page, other items from our department included loungewear. So we had pictures of both the merchandise stacked as well as what it looked like in the models. We also had pictures of what the gift sets look like because some of the loungewear came with the matching top and bottom. We also had the cozy comfort socks as well as men's robes. If you continued on to flip throughout, you would also see that we also offered a variety of scarves, gloves, and hats. And at the back, you would see that we offer also dress shirts with ties and a wide assortment from different brands such as Van Heusen and Jeffrey Bean and Kenneth Cole Reaction. And the great thing was we worked with another buyer from the dress suits so that our vendors could get more exposure, and we would lend them the current samples of dress shirts and ties, and we started coordinating to make sure that we weren't overlapping and that our vendors were getting more exposure, or in other words, more bang for their buck, since the vendors were willing to help pay for the advertising. So this was quite an intense project for the holidays. And that was just simply one ad out of many. You can help your child date wisely and select a career he or she will love for the rest of his or her life. You can provide guidance by passing on this wise career dating advice to your child. You can help your child understand why career exploration and dating go hand in hand. You can help your child avoid heartbreak by understanding the concept of growing together or growing apart. You can provide your child with advice regularly regarding compatibility for a lifelong adventure. The more engaged your child is in living a richer and fuller life, the more life experiences your child will have to guide him or her down the career selection path. When your child is ready to make a commitment, what will your child's career vows be? Go share this post with your child so your child can start making better career and dating decisions today.